Hi there, Magnus from Magnus and the Arts here. Usually when I press rec on my cameras, there's a writer, a sports figure, a bookshop owner in front of it. But now I'm here, and why? Well, I need to keep doing work with my cameras and also with books. Yeah, I want to push myself to read more books, and one of the ways to do that is to do reviews of some kind on the books that I have read. And on the table here to my right, to your left, is a bunch of books. Some of them I've read already, and some of them I'm reading right now. And I'm going to be talking about this one today. It's Chuck Wendig's Wanderers, a story that was published back in, a long time ago, 2019, like a year ago. It's actually a first edition, international edition. I didn't know that, kind of cool. It's been lugged around, so it's kind of worn, but I don't mind that. I don't buy books to put them on my shelves to look nice. I buy them to read them. So anyway, I'm here to talk about this book, this story. And I was given the idea to read this book by Jan Smed, who runs a really awesome bookshop in Uppsala, Sweden, called the English Bookshop. And he told me, Magnus, I know what you like to read, and therefore you have to read Chuck Wendig's Wanderers. And I asked Jan, well, do you have it in stock? And Jan looked at me and said, well, Magnus, of course, we have Chuck Wendig's Wanderers in stock. So I bought the book and I read it. I just finished it a week or two ago, and it's just super. And I'm not going to spoil much. I'm going to do some name dropping and so, but I'm not going to go into detail about what the book is all about, because that will ruin your reading pleasure. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to tell you what kind of reader I am and what kind of books I like to read and why I like them, because then you might understand that this book is a book meant for you to read. So follow me into my rabbit hole, or down my rabbit hole, I don't know. Chuck Wendig's Wanderers. So, Wanderers by Chuck Wendig, published by Del Rey, and this is the international edition. It's a larger paperback. It's soft and heavy. It's 780 pages long. But as I tell my students, whenever I have the chance, which is pretty much every day, a book isn't hard to read because it's long. A book could be really hard to read and be really thin, like this. So I say, don't be frightened and scared off by the thickness of any book. Just one page at a time, or a word at a time if you're a slow reader. Anyway, Chuck Wendig's Wanderers is a book or a story that brings us really into present day. It takes place in the United States, and it's kind of spooky in a way, because it's about what happens in the world at this moment with the pandemic, the COVID-19. It's a virus, and we have probably multiple agencies working to find out exactly where it came from, exactly where it originated, and the spread of it and all. And this is a story that tangents this, and it's spooky because it's sort of it's too close to home in a way, so it made it really eerie. I was like, it was a spooky, scary movie taking place in my hands, in my eyes, and in my brain as I read this. And to top that off, it's also about what happens when far-right movements gather power and control and influences power structures and society, institutions. And there's also a political struggle going on in the book that is really hand in hand with what happened in the US election of 2020, where Joe Biden and Kamala Harris fortunately won that election, even though many tinfoil hat wearing people think that it was Donald Trump landslide win or something, I don't know. But anyway, without giving away too much of anything, this is a virus slash political slash relationship story. And what makes a good book in my view? What is a good book to me? Well, first, characters. If the writer does not write the characters in a way that make me feel for them, like the protagonist, the good guys. If I don't like them, if I don't feel I want to hang out with them and be a part of their crew, if I don't fear for them, if I don't root for them, well, I'm not going to read that book. The same goes for the antagonists or antagonist. If they're badly written and if I don't really dislike them, if there's a book with that kind of antagonist, I will put that book down because I need to feel the same. J.K. Rowling wrote Voldemort superbly, I think, because he is rotten. He is a bastard. And I hate him. And I really root for the good guys when he gets his ass kicked later on. That happens. Sorry for that spoiler, but it's been out there. Anyway, and also I root for the young Harry Potter and his friends, Ron and Hermione and all the other people around them, which also makes me go back to read or watch the movies because I like the characters. That's the most important thing. If the characters don't come out of the pages and make me feel things, I'm not going to read it. And this book, Wanderers, it has a palette, a lot of characters to care for. And I'm going to name drop a few of them. We have Shauna and Nessie, two sisters, which the two are, the star of the story. You feel for both of them, or I did, which meant that I wanted to go back and read what happens to these two girls in this story. Whenever I put the book down after having read some chapters, I was thinking right then and there, I wonder when I will have time to read next time. And then we have a scientist who comes off as a little bit of a scientist, but he's also very human. Benjamin Ray, he is a guy who works with diseases, viruses and stuff. He comes off as a guy that I really wanted to learn more about. And the same went for the female character, Sadie, who also comes in quite early. I wanted to read more about him. I wanted to find out more, and that is so much the key. And if the characters are really well written, I can, in many cases, forgive a story that isn't really that good. I can stick with the story just to hang out with my friends in the book. And of course, the books that have both awesome key characters and a good story, well, I'm there. And Wanderers by Chuck Wendig, in my book, sorry about that, pun sort of intended. The characters are great. I like them. I want to go back and read about rock stars who, do crazy things. I want to learn about the crazy right-wing morons. I want to read about the relationship developments between, my favorite people in this. And the story is just also awesome. And Chuck Wendig puts a lot of pop culture references into this one. There are connections to, or he mentions Stephen King's The Stand, which is kind of, a appropriate since they are about the same thing. And there are like multiple things. It's really, really present day. All the modern technologies are present, and well, it's fresh. And I love the story. I love the characters, and this, I can only give this a 5 stars out of 5 because it's good. And I have also recently learned that Chuck is planning on writing the sequel. So I'm looking forward to getting back to the people. Hopefully it's the same people, or some of them at least, in the sequel. I don't know. Anyway, so this is me, Magnus from Magnus and the Arts, sitting in front of my own cameras, telling you that you should read Chuck Wendig's Wanderers, published by Del Rey Books in 2019. It's a thriller. It's a drama. It's a horror story. It's almost all of it. It's just awesome, and I like his language. Yeah, sorry, I didn't tell you that. It's a rough, kind of gritty, non-apologetic kind of talk in the book. I like it. It's rough in places. It speaks to me. So if you're going to get yourself a book to read and you love your character-driven stories and you like, nice plot twists and all that, you should get this one. When you have bought yourself a copy of Chuck Wendig's Wanderers, and perhaps a copy for your mom and dad or your brother or sister or your friend, there are many other books to get. And one of the books I recently bought is this one, A Promised Land by Barack Obama. I like the guy. He is the kind of leader the biggest democracy on this planet needs. Compassion, intelligence, things that have been lacking these past 4 years. So I'm really looking forward to finish reading that and reviewing it. I'm going to be looking into Elizabeth Hand's Curious Toys and also her Cass Neary stories. I interviewed Elizabeth back in February of 2020, the 29th actually, because it's a leap year, so it's kind of cool. I also met Niklas Nattodog. Wolf and the Watchman is the first book called, I think. Anyway, so these two, and I'm going to be reading R.J. Barker's Bone Ship stories. They are part of his Tide Child trilogy. And I met him and interviewed him back in September of 2019 in Uppsala, together with Jan Smed of the English bookshop there. So I got these two books, and I'm going to be talking about both of them because I haven't really finished the first one yet completely, because I've been a bad reader for a while. So I started reading them and then I just didn't finish, which is, I need to get back on board with that. I'm going to be reading and reviewing Stephen Saville's Parallel Lines. Stephen is a friend of mine. He a British writer. He lives in Sweden. This is a crime story. So I'm going to be talking about that. That's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to that. Stephen King, one of my go-to writers of all time. This is one book that is exactly my age. It was published back in 1975. So never mind, I'm 25 plus. Don't go there. It's a minefield. And I'm going to be reading and talking about Mats Strandberg's stories. He's a Swedish writer, but he has been translated to English, which is cool. This is called The Home. And this little beaut is The End. And I also have one called Blood Cruise. It's right here. This is also signed by the author. It's kind of cool. I'm hoping that I can meet Mats and interview him about his writing next year, if this COVID-19 crap just stops haunting us. So anyway, David Gammel's Legend, high fantasy also. I'm going to read that one. And Clive Barker's Imagica. So I've got a lot of stuff to read. Raymond E. Feist, of course, met him back in 2018, also with the help of, or from Jan Smed of the English Bookshop in Uppsala. I'm going to read his newest book too, and hopefully talk about all of them. But anyway, that was that. Chuck Wendig, Wanderers, go get it, it's good. Awesome characters, awesome story, scary story. Well, that's it, that's that. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I hope that I gave you something. Peace out.